All right, let's dive into something you've probably never heard before. It's a duet, sung by two characters from completely different worlds. And what brings them together? It's not success, it's not love, it's just total, complete failure. This is the story of the Clippy Brothers.
But before we get to our heroes, let me ask you something. What does failure actually sound like? Is it, a loud crash? A quiet sigh? Well, in this story, it sounds like a song.
So our story kicks off in a place where things go to be forgotten. With just this one line, we meet our first narrator, a simple, bent paperclip. He's not in some fancy office. Nope, he's lost in a junk drawer, surrounded by loose change and expired coupons. He even says he's bent up like a question mark that's forgotten its own meaning.
So here's the thing you got to understand about the paperclip. His failures are real. They're tangible, they happen in the real world, and they have real consequences. He's totally defined by his physical inability to do the one job he was made for.
Okay, let's get into one of his most painful memories. He was given something really precious to hold on to, a framed wedding photo. A moment that's all about love and commitment, which, in his hands, turned into a complete catastrophe.
And this just perfectly captures the weight of his incompetence. See, it's not just that he failed at a task. His failure caused real, deep, emotional pain. He wasn't just useless, he was the reason for a week-long cry and a groom's anger. That is a heavy, heavy burden for a tiny piece of wire.
But his failures aren't just personal and emotional, oh no. They have actual commercial consequences too. Turns out, his inability to hold things together also managed to ruin a local restaurant's business.
I mean, think about that for a second. His one job was to hold a menu together, but because he's so bent out of shape, the only page customers could see was the shrimp page. A simple failure that literally cost a business money. So from his junk drawer world, he looks out at the big, gleaming city, the digital world of our next character, and thinks, man, that guy has got it made.
And that brings us to our second character. If the paperclip's world is a dusty old junk drawer, Clippy's is a sterile office on the 23rd floor. He wears a tie, as he says, for no good reason. His failures, well, they're digital, they're abstract, but they are just as devastating.
And this is what's so wild about Clippy's failures. They aren't small and tangible like the paperclips. They're digital, abstract, and they happen on this massive, almost historical scale. He doesn't just drop photos. This guy rewrites history.
It's hilarious, and it's absurd. He takes one of the most important documents in Western civilization and, trying to be helpful, turns it into a menu. His digital assistance creates chaos on a historical level, leaving experts totally baffled, wondering about whitelist ribs and cornbread.
But his mistakes aren't just these grand historical blunders. They can also be deeply personally tragic, just like the paperclips. Take, for instance, a simple autocorrect with absolutely devastating consequences. An entire life just derailed by one digital slip-up. Instead of celebrating the biggest moment of his life, a student gets condolences. The result? His dreams are totally shattered, and he ends up working as a bouncer, forever blaming the digital ghost who ruined his future. Clippy is, as he says, literally held together by despair.
So, what we have here are two characters, one analog, one digital. Both are just drowning in their own unique brand of failure, and this is where their stories finally connect, and they start to realize they aren't so different after all.
This slide just lays it all out so perfectly. It's a fantastic contrast of their parallel failures. On the left, you've got the paperclip's physical fumbles, losing crucial notes and letters. And on the right, Clippy's digital disasters, like turning a meeting into a maiden meeting. One operates in the real world, the other in the digital. But the outcome is always the same, absolute chaos.
And right here, this is the heart of their connection. They both look at the other guy and imagine a better life. But they're self-aware enough to know it wouldn't even matter. The grass isn't greener. They are fundamentally, inescapably useless. Their bond is literally forged in that shared, irreversible brokenness.
You can see their whole emotional journey laid out right here. It starts with just individual misery. The paperclip is sick of being blamed. Clippy is literally held together by despair. But as they find each other, their whole perspective shifts. It's no longer, I am a failure, it's we are failures. And in that shared identity, they find this weird kind of comfort.
So what do you do when you realize your one defining characteristic is incompetence? Well, for the Clippy Brothers, the answer is to build a family around it, to find a new, kind of crooked purpose.
I just love this reframing. In this moment of clarity, they realize there is one thing they are exceptionally good at: being terrible. Their consistency isn't in success, it's in failure. And in that realization, there's this bizarre sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride even. It's the one thing they've actually nailed.
And just like that, they're no longer these isolated disasters. They become a pair, a brotherhood, built on being bent out of shape together.
And this is the powerful, really poignant takeaway. They found a place to belong not by fixing themselves, not by becoming successful, but by finding someone else who is just as broken. They created a space where their failure finally belongs. Now they're two brothers, holding strong.
So I'll just leave you with this question. The story is funny, it's absurd, yeah, but it touches on something really real. In a world that is constantly pushing for optimization and perfection, is there maybe a profound strength in acknowledging our own inner paperclip? In realizing that our most authentic connections might not be found in our successes, but in our shared, beautiful failures?